from Liberty University, and this is my interpersonal communication project for the class HSER 508. Next slide, please. To tell you a little bit about myself, I am a wife, a mother, a daughter, sister, aunt, and a student, and soon to be graduate of Liberty University in just a few days. I'm a birth mother of a son, Theo, who's 25. I have 3 stepchildren, Nathan, 24, Beth, 23, Hannah, 21, and an adopted mother of Jasmine, who is 13. I'm a wife of Robert. In my past life, I have been a medical sonographer before I decided to change and go for the human services degree. Next slide, please. My passions are family and friends. I'm a very people-oriented person. I love missions and travel, cooking and hospitality. I love to fish, and I love to learn. And I like to teach what I've learned. And my big passion for this season is Alabama football. Roll Tide. Next slide, please. During this course on interpersonal communication, we have studied the fine art of communicating well, using text by James Peterson, Madeline Burley Adams, John Stewart, Mel's Carbonell. We also took 2 online tests which test our personality and communication ability. Next slide, please. The DISC results. This is expected of me. I am IS, and this is me, and I'm IDS. Next slide. The DISC results. This is me. IDS is me at home with family and friends, people I'm comfortable around. This is expected of me. IS. This is the person I am in public. The D is an active, task-oriented personality type. The I is active, people-oriented, and the S is passive, people-oriented. My background and behavioral plans show that I am unique in my blend of 3 strong motivations. I am dominating, inspiring, submissive, all at once. I can be sometimes sensitive and shy, yet driven with influencing, dominating demeanor. This combination can cause confusion. People don't know how to read me, and this combination can be somewhat disquieting. Next slide, please. As with any test, there's always the good, the bad, and the ugly. This helps the test taker to understand why we do the things we do and how we can improve our communication and relationships. My high D in this is me, and my low D in what is expected of me means I can adapt and tend to be more in control of myself publicly than in private. My family would probably concur with this. I'm often more transparent and predictably bossy when I'm under pressure in private, especially at home or among friends and relatives. Next slide, please. My IS blend. I think people expect me to be both inspiring and submissive, active and outgoing in crowds, yet passive and reserved in small groups or a one-on-one. I think people expect me more people-oriented than task-oriented. Next slide, please. My blend of IS means that I need to be careful not to seek after others' approval, like people-pleasing, while striving to make them look good. I need to strive to be more aware of tasks and work hard and be industrious. Next slide, please. My blends under stress. This is where the real Leslie comes out. This is me. The high D means that under stress I become direct, domineering, and demanding, and doctorial, to name a few Ds. I under pressure means I'm irrational and immature. S under pressure becomes subservient, sympathizes, and a sucker. Next slide, please. The solutions to my stress. D, I need to just back off and be patient, loving, friendly, loyal, kind, and sensitive. The S means when I become fearful and insecure, I need to be strong, encouraging, and challenging. I, when I become immature and irrational, I need to listen, count the cost, and control my emotions. Next slide, please. My potential barriers are lack of planning, pushing through projects simply to get them done, poor communication, people-pleasing, being too focused on people and not the task, and not gather enough information before I start doing the task. Next slide, please. My solutions to my barriers is, first I have to learn to listen at a level 1, which we'll talk more about later. I need to develop planning skills that are task-oriented. Surround myself with task-oriented people that will give me wisdom and insight into task completion. I need the purpose to wait and gather the information that I need. And the main thing that I need to do is acquire an accountability partner that will hold me accountable for the goals that I'm setting for myself. Next slide, please. Level 1 listening is described by Burley Adams as empathetic listening, being present and in the moment, but not being distracted, paying attention to details such as the talker's body language and emotional state. This is listening from the heart, which opens a door to understanding, empathy, and relationship building. Next slide, please. We took a couple tests and they were on the Discovery Health, and the bridge score was 75, and I wasn't really pleased with that. I haven't had a 75 in years. I just thought, oh, I thought I was a pretty good communicator. But then I took the more complex skills, and my score was 88, which I was pretty happy with. My more in-depth test revealed that I'm extremely inept at interpreting others' words and actions and seeing things from their point of view. My empathetic listening helps me to identify what others are saying and prevents misunderstandings. Next slide, please. My plan of action. They're all P's. Plan, persevere, pray, persist. Pack Peterson's listener talker cards, which we'll talk about later, and practice communication. Practice makes perfect. So the talker and listener cards presented by Peterson help both the talker and the listener to communicate well. The talker is to share their thoughts and feelings without accusing, judging, labeling, or attacking, reminding themselves that they must own their own problems. Okay, the listener goals are to provide safe and a secure place for the talker to talk, understanding and to clarify what the talker is saying without agreeing or disagreeing, defending, or advising. This is where I have a problem because I'm a real problem solver and my mind just goes into, oh, I know what you should do. But allowing them to do that and solve their own problem is where the good works come in. Next slide, please. One of my listening solutions is mentioned by Peterson is the thud. It is a warning feeling that I need to swallow, take a deep breath, decide not to get defensive, because it's just a flat brainer talking to me, and remind myself that I am dealing with a hurting person, and finally remember that it's not about me, which I have a hard time remembering sometimes. Next slide, please. So I have identified a huge distraction to listening well, and that is noise. I'm in a quiet library right now, but when I'm in a crowd and there's a lot of noise going on, it's really hard for me to pay attention and not get distracted. So let's look at what noise does when we listen. Next slide, please. So noise pollution. Okay, so one of the definitions I found is secondhand noise is increasingly used to describe noise that is experienced by people who did not produce it. And I have a lot of people producing a lot of noise around me. So non-auditory effects of noise exposure are those effects that don't cause hearing loss but can be measured, such as elevated blood pressure, loss of sleep, increased heart rate, cardiovascular constriction, labored breathing, and changes in brain chemistry. So the noise pollution I can do something about at times. I'd like to tell my neighbors that, but anyway, how about the noise that I make in my own head where I'm trying to formulate answers and questions and think about what I should say to the person? So Burley Allen suggests concentrating to prevent noise interference and distractions. Next slide, please. And I can also, in learning to listen better, opt out of dancing the tango as described by Peterson. That's where you just gulp, and gulp again, as I'm asked to dance a tango with a flat brain. I decline, and instead I ask him to waltz with me as we waltz from head to stomach and back again, keeping that flat brain from getting in our way of conversation. Next slide, please. A flat brainer is described in Peterson's work as a person who is depressed, fearful, excited, happy, or angry. Those flat brainers, we have all been flat brainers from one time or another, right? They often attack the listener with the words and infect them with this flat brainitis. To obtain your immunization from this dreaded disease, please obtain a copy of Peterson's work, Why Don't We Listen Better? Next slide, please. To be a better listener, friend in person, I'll have to give my rights to rationalize. I have worked for years in crisis pregnancy centers and with couples in crisis, and when I hear, I deserve it, or I have a right, I know the choice to abort or divorce has already been made. Rationalization leads to a separation between myself and the one I am conversing with. Well, I will choose not to mask my feelings, but I will choose when and how to share them and with whom. So, next slide, please. I will close with my last comment on reading people's emotional state before you open your mouth and constantly watching their verbal clues, nonverbal clues, and yours, what you're giving out to them. Are you listening? Are you texting? Or what are you doing? And just keep doing that as the conversation continues, knowing that all our feelings and desires and emotions rise with body language, and that's all just nonverbal. That is why Burley and Allen suggest body language is to observing people's body language to determine a talker's internal state is going to help us listen at level 1, which is one of my goals. Next slide, please. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my communication project, and have a good day. And remember, talk and listen with your heart. Thank you so much.